and thank you all for being here and for your great service to our country. Secretary Austin, I'm a little concerned, very concerned about the credibility of the administration's deterrence policy. When I see President Biden's messaging to Putin and to Iran and to the Houthis and other Iran-backed groups, I just see President Biden saying, don't. And we've had, attacks. People are obviously not adhering to that. I'm concerned that we are significantly eroding our deterrence by setting these sort of ambiguous boundaries and letting our adversaries kind of walk over us sometimes. So what steps are you and the President taking to establish a stronger, more credible deterrence against these threats from our adversaries, besides just don't?
I take it you're speaking about the Middle East.
Yes, sir.
Specifically. So, we had a number of goals at the very beginning of this crisis, and one of them was to protect our people and both our troops and civilians in the region. Another was to recover the hostages. Another was to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to support Israel in its efforts to defend itself. And then finally, it's our goal to ensure that we contain this conflict in Gaza and not have a regional conflict break out. So you saw us early on deploy some pretty substantial capabilities into theater to discourage people from trying to do that, from trying to blow this into a regional conflict. And I think even though there's been dust-ups throughout the region, we don't see a regional conflict at this point, Senator. So if you take a look at the attacks that were being conducted against our troops, you recall that in January leading up to January, we saw a number of attacks against our troops and our bases. And you saw us in February conduct a pretty major strike that the president authorized in both Iraq and Syria. Since that time, we've seen 2 incidents, and we attribute those actions to probably rogue elements. So in that case, they have been deterred from attacking our troops. But in terms of Iran and its actions in the region, Iran continues to present a threat to the region, and that's something that we're going to have to remain focused on for sure.
Let me ask both of you a question here about the reports that of withholding weapons. We all voted, many of us, I certainly did, and was pleased to support the bill by 79 to 18 to reinvigorate not just our own defense industrial, but also to give aid to several other entities. What is the status of withholding our weaponry that we voted to send to Israel? Are we doing that? Why are we doing that?
Again, our commitment to Israel is ironclad, Senator, and as I said earlier, since October 7th, we have flowed in billions of dollars worth of security assistance, and as you just mentioned, you just passed the largest supplemental in history that's focused on Israel, and we're going to continue to do what's necessary to support Israel.
Are those reports false, then, that I'm reading?
No, we are currently reviewing some near-term security assistance shipments in the context of the unfolding events in Rafah.
So we are withholding our shipments of weapons predicated on the strategy that Israel's employing and going into Rafah. Is that the bottom line here?
We've not, again, we're assessing. We have not made any final decisions on this yet, but to answer your question, yes. There are some things that we're taking a closer look at. So.
Okay, that's an answer that's, well, thank you for clarifying it. I wouldn't say I agree with it, but thank you for clarifying it. General Brown, let me ask you, this is one of the things that's come up on the refortification of our own munitions. How do you see that now that we've passed this and the President signed this?
Well, it's going to put us on a much better path. And it's not only what the supplemental, but it also say the 24, FY24 National Defense Authorization Act, which allowed for multi-year procurement for 6 systems. I wouldn't look to actually expand that in the future on multi-year procurement, because what that will do will provide levels of consistency for our defense industrial base, so they can actually workforce, facilities, supply chains, and allow us to make sure we have a capacity from a munitions standpoint.
So you're convinced that we're on a glide path to renew our munitions supplies to a satisfactory level for you all?
We're on a good path. And
Good.
one of the pieces I'd also add, though, getting a budget on time is actually really important to actually provide that level of consistency, so we can write contracts and gives our defense industrial base the confidence and the trust that they can invest and have that workforce and supply chain.
I think we all hear you. Thank you.
Got it.
Senator Coons.
Thank you, Chairman Tester.